Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
I let my sister and her 3 kids live with me because they needed help, but I kicked them out when I found out the true reason she asked me to move in. Yesterday at 11 a.m. I was alone at home. DH went to work early and I was just starting my daily cleaning routine when the bell rang. I, F30, peeked through the hole and saw my sister, F36, and her 3 kids, 532. I did not open the door and talk to her behind it, and I'll explain why in a minute. She said she had an argument with her chronically ill husband, M34, and wanted to once again punish him by keeping the kids away from him, until he apologized to her for what he said, which was regular argument stuff. Explanation: she started doing this when he got sick. Every time she gets in an argument with my BIL, she'd take the kids and refuses to bring them back till he apologized to her. He has a medical condition that prevents him from getting outside the house, and she's been using that and instead of taking the kids to our aunt's house this time, she brought them to me since aunt is out of town. She asked that I take the kids for 2 days, but I refused and pointed out how unacceptable and wrong of her to punish her husband, who's already sick, and using the fact that he can't drive to go pick his kids up or at least see them against him, she'd keep them away for days. She started talking about how her husband doesn't care about her hurt feelings and how much she does for him. Also, how this method has proven to be effective, since it got him to recognize his wrongdoings and apologize, but I replied that he probably was only apologizing just to see the kids. I said it wasn't fair for the kids either, but she said they agreed to stay with me and told me to open the door cause they miss me so much. I refused and said I won't be responsible when BIL finally decides to do something about this and get the cops involved. She yelled she's their mother, so the cops won't do a damn thing about it, and assured me my BIL would never do that, knowing how much she's cared for him. But I stood my ground and said I won't be opening the door. Period. She yelled saying I was unsupportive and selfish to keep my nieces and nephew out and refused to open the door for them. I suggested she go work her issues out like a rational adult and stop pulling cruel stunts that affects her husband and the kids' emotional/mental health. She took offense to that and said I was clearly on my BIL side. She shamed me in front of the kids for 10+ minutes, then left. Hours later, my dad, who lives in another town, called, shaming and berating me for not opening the door for his grandchildren, then insulting my sister and siding against her. I explained my reasons, but he said the kids are with my cousin and insisted I go pick them up. My husband said I should have opened the door for the kids and that he could see how dad would be upset with me for not taking the kids until my sister's conflict with her husband is resolved. He wants me to go pick the kids up, but I keep refusing, but I feel like unsupportive of my sister. And more details about my BIL. He has a chronic illness that's gotten worse lately and limited his ability to do most things. To my knowledge, he's catheterized, wears a cannula and a medical device so he can't drive or walk outside the house. My parents never liked him because he was already sick when my sister married him and said she was wasting her life with him, but she always says she loves him, but I'm not even sure judging by her recent actions. Story 2. My story, the aftermath plus year update. Hello, it's been a year since I posted on Reddit, so thought it would be fitting to post my story along with a year update. I fixed the grammar etc. on the first post as I was drunk. Cheers. Tuesday, October 27th, 2020. I'm writing this from my phone, so bear with me if it's formatted wrong. So last night, my wife of 7 years decided to have a chill-out night. After dinner, she went to the den and was watching her programs while I flitted between watching the Spurs game football/soccer and doing some odds and ends that I had planned. Next thing I know, she's got the wine out and has had 2 bottles of the stuff. At around midnight, I went to check on her and saw she was out cold on the couch. I went to scoop her up when her e-watch thing buzzed and a message popped up on the screen. It said something along the lines of, "Ha, I can't do that. My name would knock 7 shades of shit out of me, PP. I wondered what the fuck that was all about, so I pressed on it, and it was a conversation between my wife and a friend of mine. Now, I wouldn't say this guy is a close friend, but he's someone I played 5-a-sides with for years, drank with, and have known since we were teenagers. We used to call him jacket holder because when we got into scraps as teens, he'd always be the guy holding the jackets while everyone else went for it. Right, so as I said, I push on the conversation while this thing is still attached to her wrist and scroll up to the top, and as far as I can tell, it's him that contacts her first unless she's deleted. There's lots of flirting and wink-winking going on, but nothing that you could outright say was cheating. Then I get to last night, and when she's drunk, she starts openly begging him for sex. I couldn't believe my fucking eyes. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact words, but she was saying shit like how much she had always wanted him, how no one would ever find out if he did want to do something. And the last one that fucking killed me. That she was great at keeping secrets. I tried to scroll on her watch, but couldn't find any other messages, and I don't know her phone passcode. I put her in her bed and just sat in the kitchen in shock until I fell asleep, then got up for work at about 5:30. When I went to get in my work van, I just slunk down on the wheel and realized I couldn't face it, so I went back in the house, grabbed a half-drunk bottle of vodka, filled it to the top with Coke, and went on a walk down the railway line. We live beside a lot of woodlands and a disused railway line that goes for miles, and I've walked about half the length of it. I'm sitting under a railway bridge like a fucking troll right now, just seething at the whole thing. You probably think there's a fire going from a mile away due to the steam coming out of my ears. So what do? I don't want to speak to her. I can't even bear to look at her after reading that shit. It was like a dagger through my heart. I just feel like every morsel of love I had for her has evaporated into thin air after reading her begging like that. Fucking yuck. I honestly want to ghost her, man. If I could, I would never speak to her again. The whole "I'm great at keeping secrets" was the thing that got me, though. Like, who even are you? It reeks, but it's a case of how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go. I don't care. If I'm being honest, I'm just done. I've never felt so betrayed and disgusted in all my life. The thing is, I've invested so much in her, not just as a partner, but as a person. I loved her so much and thought her personality, and by extension, my personality, reflected that of good people. To realize she's a backstabbing snake makes me feel like a snake. I feel like a worse person than I was yesterday. The only way I can describe it is for someone you looked up to, took advice and life lessons from, to suddenly find out they were a pedo or a rapist or just a downright creep. Your entire perception of yourself and who you are would be shattered because you've taken on board what they've said and invested time into a creep. God, I'm rambling nonsense. I apologize. I'm lucky in that our house is owned by my parents, who 6 years ago moved to a retirement village, and we moved in. The house will be bequeathed to me when they die, but I don't and hopefully won't own it for a long time. They couldn't be bothered with the upkeep and all the problems, etc., and wanted to see out their final days in peace, so when we do divorce, my soon-to-be ex won't be getting her hands on it. So what do I do then? I'm honestly thinking of just not saying a word and throwing her right out. Also, while walking here, it went through my mind to get my mate, who's a locksmith, to quietly change the locks today. I could feed her any old garbage about something from the doors being broken. She won't care what's going on anyway, as long as I'm about. Then after he's done, lock the front door and tell her to come and look at something out the back. When she comes out, run back in and lock the door behind me. That sounds childish as fuck, doesn't it? Seriously, though, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm staring at a bottle right now, and my life feels like it has been ripped apart at the seams. As for that prick so-called friend of mine, there's no doubt he was up to something here.